Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's Sunday. It is not looking too good right now for Bitcoin and possibly for the mining stocks for this coming week. We have the death cross potential happening today. At the end of the day, at the end of the close of Bitcoin for the day, we may have the death cross where the 200-day and the 20-day cross, basically, which is never a good sign. It's usually a bearish flag for investors. We'll look at two times within the last year and a half that this has happened and what had transpired after that. So let's get into the chart here, and then we'll look at the miners as far as see which one is currently undervalued or overvalued based on where Bitcoin is right now. So here's a chart on Bitcoin right now on the daily chart. We are at 46,751. We wicked up to about 48,351 and got denied from our roughly 48,400 or so, 500 support line or trend, support line, which is actually our, not support, but our, what is that word I'm thinking of? Resistance, sorry. It's our resistance right now. So we get denied from that. We came back falling down. We can obviously see here that the red line here is the 20-day moving average. The blue line here is the 200-day moving average. They are about to cross, and when that happens, we usually end up going further down. So how far can we actually go down? Well, it varies depending on which time you look at it when this has happened before, the death cross. So if we look at, I'm going to pull this up on my iPad here for you guys. So this is the last one that happened back earlier this year. This was right around, I believe, when was this? Around May, April, right around there, where we fell from basically 36,000 down to 28,000. We had the death cross happen here. So if you guys can see that, I'm going to show you where the death cross happened. We had the death cross happen right here, right? We obviously didn't fall from that, but we did go up a little bit. We came back down, went back up, and then we finally fell down to our low here, which is basically like a, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not a Elliott wave expert or anything like that, so it looks like we fell a couple times. Well, if you count this one here, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before we basically bottomed out here at 28,800 roughly. And then after that, it was a while that we were just kind of, standing in this line. And then we finally basically touched almost the bottom here again. And after that, we started going back up to our current high of 40, or to our current all-time high of 69,000. Obviously, we've come back down from that. So the previous time that this has happened, where the death cross happened, was back in 2020, and this was on March 20th, obviously, when we fell almost 50%. Oh, this last time that we fell basically 20% from our high that we reached here when we actually had the death cross happen here, and then we obviously fell from here down to there at 20%. We've obviously been up and down, but from that point to this point right here, we fell 20%. If we take a look at the one previous to that, that one was really bad because it happened within like 2 days that we fell. And this was right after we got basically the word or the news that the pandemic was going to happen. Countries shutting down, everything's shutting down. We fell basically within 2 days. We fell 52% from 8,000 roughly to 3,800. So that was a huge fall here. So if we look at the line graph here, you can see it here where the 20-day crossed the 200-day, and we fell. We fell hard. Within 2 days, we were down 50%, 52.32% on the chart here. But after that, we gradually worked our way back up. So there's two obviously possibilities that could happen here with Bitcoin right now. We could be looking at something that happened just this year where we kind of fell, came back up, fell back some more, and then finally came back up after that. So it's anybody's guess, but I do think once this happens, we probably will fall to our current support is going to be at 44,700, 800 roughly. And then this is obviously going to fail, and then we're going to go down to possibly the 40,000 mark. So if that happens, obviously the miners are going to bleed. They're going to bleed heavily when this happens, unfortunately. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, see what happens, and then we'll take a look at obviously now what's going on with the miners as far as who's undervalued, overvalued. Obviously, not very many are overvalued right now, but we'll take a look at it anyways. And here is a tweet from Plan B. So this is talking about his stock to flow model. Bitcoin uses a small miracle for a 100,000 Christmas. will I ditch stock to flow model if it does not happen? Nah, I actually like being at the lower bands. In fact, I published the model at the lower bands in March 2019 with BTC below 4K. So he's not giving up on his stock to flow model. We are obviously at the lower bands on it. If we look at it here, and I can zoom in on it, but you can see it here. We are right here. We've been below it before. We've climbed above it. We're below it now, and we've been close to being below here, and we were definitely below here. So we are possibly, well, I don't want to jinx it, but we may be at the very low end here, or getting very close to the low end before we continue back up higher to be more within range and above the average, basically. So we'll see how that goes up. But yeah, let me know what you guys think on that as far as, do you think Bitcoin's going to go falling back further down? I think it will. I could be wrong, but I think based on history and charts, we're due to fall down at least the 40,000 mark. I don't think we're going to fall much further than that, but we'll see. And it'll be interesting to see where we actually end up with the bottom here at this one. All right, so let's take a look at the miners here. So the miners, I've updated my sheet here on all the data that I cover. So this is the settings that I use for everything here. And then the miners comparison, I'm still working on this, but this is pretty close to being done. So it's got all the information for the companies, the miners, the shares out, current price to earnings, multiple, stock price, market cap. Then we look at the 1 week, 4 week, 8 week, and 12 week change in price here. And then we also have the estimated revenue on my estimates for it with a price to earnings multiple of 20 to 50% net, 75% net, and then whether they're undervalued or overvalued and the difference. We look at also the current hash rate and things like that. But here's all the data that I'm actually now able to basically gather with this using Apple's numbers. It makes it a lot easier to pull a lot more data in and be able to view it visually better. So now in each case, we'll be able to view, like for Argo, we'll see everything that's going on with the stock, shares outstanding, how much are institutional ownership, how many institutions are owning it. That I haven't updated yet, so that's coming up. It's something I'm working on. But then we also can see the 1 week, 4 week, 8 week, 12 week. We have that. We also have the graph here to show where the price has gone. It's opposite of what you're normally used to because I have the numbers here from basically last Friday going down minus 7 days each week. Excuse me. So that pulls it in here, and then we get a reverse chart here. So this is the latest numbers we have here for them. And then obviously we have the estimates here for that I do on each of these miners, and then we also have the number of miners when they're coming in. All the data is still in here. But the nice thing is I'll be able to track how much they actually mined each month going forward. I'm going to try and get as much data as I can going back. And then obviously the institutions part is still not filled out. I got to go back and start filling this stuff in as it happens. So we'll get a little bit more information as far as what's going on, whether institutions are jumping on board or jumping ship. So we'll see how that plays out. And what else do we have here? We obviously have the current hash rate, future hash rate, percent of operational. So this takes a look at what their current hash rate is and what their future hash rate is and gives us a percentage of what they're already installed, number of miners, and then their average hash per miner average. So do that for all of them, for Bitfarms, Cleanspark, Digihost, DMG, Hive, Hot 8, Marathon, Mawson, and Riot. Something we'll talk about also is Mawson, why they might be up, but just looking at it right now, if you look at the chart here, the volume is like 6-7x where it normally is. For the week, it is just off the chart. I mean, it is way up above it, and that's possibly why the price of Mawson has gone up. But there's another reason I think might be another reason that I kind of stumbled upon while I was doing all this data here. So let's get into the miners comparison. Let me know what you guys think of all this data being updated in a new look, new format. Any feedback you guys can provide is greatly appreciated, and it'll obviously help you guys get the information you want, and I'll be able to present it. All right, so Argo is obviously at 125. Market cap we know. So Bitfarms, same thing, 473. Cleanspark, 1171. Digihost, 356. DMG is at 61 cents. Hive is at 259. Hut 8 is 780. Marathon is 33.86. Mawson is at 863. And Riot is at 23.24. So on the weekly chart, on the weekly data that we have for them, Mawson is the only one that's up, $2.37. It's up 37% basically. We did a weekly comparison on Bitcoin versus miners, so that data is in there as well. But this is just to kind of recap on things. On the 12-week, looks like we have Hive. That's the only one that you would basically be still up on. Would be up 31 cents from 12 weeks ago, basically about 11% if you bought it back then. And Marathon is still up just barely 2% from 12 weeks ago if you bought it back then. So looking at the estimated revenue that I have for them, this is obviously my quarters 1, 2, and 3. So this is for this year. So Q1 is basically January, February, March. Q2 is April, May, June. And then you got June, July, August, right? Do I have that right? I mixed it up somehow. But it's basically the 4 quarters in the year. So that's the first 3 quarters are static. Those don't change. The only thing that's fluid is the 4th quarter, as always. So the estimated revenue for these guys is right now is at 95 million for total for the year for Argo. Bitfarms is 153 million. Cleanspark is at 73. Digihost is at 22. DMG is at 18. Hive is at 159. Hut 8 is at 125. Marathon is at 146. Mawson is at 38. And Riot is at 188. So if we use a 50% discount from gross revenue, basically come up with net revenue using a price earnings multiple of 20, we can see this is where I kind of have them where they should be at 203. So obviously this would make Argo undervalued right now. Same with the 75%. So all of these guys here are undervalued. You can see it here by how much. Marathon is overvalued by about $12.41 based on my estimates of where they should be with the price and everything. And then Mawson is also a little bit overvalued, just a little bit. Everybody else is undervalued by either 4%. Hut 8 is at 44% undervalued. Hive is at 137. DMG is at 163. Digihost is at 260, undervalued. Cleanspark is 126. Bitfarms is at 160 and 144. So if we look to see who is the most undervalued, it would be Digihost, but there's also a caveat with that. If we look at their operational percentage of miners installed, based on what I have information on them, they are at 92% installed for, all of their miners being installed for what's reported coming down the pipe. So they are pretty much at peak performance right now. That's why I think they are so undervalued right now, because investors don't see a lot of upside potential with them. Whereas if you look at like DMG is still only at 24%, but their hash rate is going to be so low once they are fully up and running with all the miners that they bought. That's why it's only at 24% compared to where like Bitfarms is at 33% installed miners right now. Current hash rate is at 2.3 exahash, and they're getting up to almost 7 exahash. So there's obviously a lot more, I think, gain as far as value goes, because they are going to have so much more exahash that they're going to be hashing with and making more money on it than somebody like DMG and possibly Digihost, right? So these guys, they need to get some more miners and figure out how to get more miners. That's the only thing I think that's going to help them down the road. DMG, I think, still has a little ways to go. Obviously, they're still way undervalued. But I think Digihost is right now kind of, unfortunately to say, not going to be moving much, I don't think. Obviously, Bitcoin goes up in price. They're probably going to go up in price, but I don't think they're going to appreciate as much in value as some of these other guys here. Sorry to say. What else we got here? We got Argo is at 43%. And Hive is at 26%. So Argo is halfway, or close to being halfway, about fully installed with their miners. Hive is at only 26% based on what they have reported coming in. So future hash rate is at 5 exahash that they're getting to. Right now they have 1.3. And then Cleanspark is at 46.76. They're at 2. I know they want to get up even higher than that. I think they want to get up to like 8 exahash, but they haven't reported any purchases or anything that they're going to be doing to purchase those. Hut 8 is at 54%. So they're at 2 exahash right now with the miners that are mining Ethereum's being transferred over into Bitcoin. And they're going to be at roughly 3.7. And then I know they want to get up higher as well, but they haven't provided as far as any purchases. So if they do add any purchases, we'll update this obviously for all these guys here. Riot is at almost 3 exahash right now. They're getting up to 9, so they're at 32% operational capacity. Mawson is at 1.2 exahash right now, and they're getting up to 3, so they're at about 40% right now. And then Marathon is at almost 4 exahash right now, going up to 13.3 exahash. A couple of these guys like Riot, Cleanspark, who else was it? I believe it was Mawson, Argo, and somebody else was going to go with immersion cooling for their miners. So that's obviously going to give them a little uptick, about 20% on the miners that are immersed for cooling. So that will obviously reflect in that. So hopefully they'll provide which miners are being cooled that way. That way we can update the figures as far as what they are actually mining. Here's the number of miners. So if we look at who has the most miners right now, we can see that Marathon has the most miners, followed by Hut 8, Riot, Bitfarms, Argo, Cleanspark, Hive, and Mawson. And then the average hash rate, if we look at that, who has the best miners right now installed, it would be Marathon on 103 exahash or 103 terahash miners average. Then it would be Riot and followed by Cleanspark. I know these guys are also ordering the Antminers S19 XPs, which are like 140 terahash miners. So it'll be interesting to see how that will change over time. Mawson is at 93, DMG is at 89, Digihost is at 88, and Hive is at 83. Obviously, some of these older guys that have a lot of older miners, that's the reason why they're being lagged behind, such as like Hut 8. They had a bunch of those miners, and I have to double check some of my figures here, but I think some of these have been turned off and things like that, so I'll update that as well. But this is what I got right now. And then if we look at their BTC hodl right now, so the ones that are hodling the most is obviously Marathon, followed by Hut 8 and then Riot. And that, if you look at the hodl to market cap, so this is how much of their market cap is based on how much they actually have in hodl. So if we look at, obviously, Bitfarms here has basically 138 million, 140 million right now, and their market cap is 189 million. That's basically 15% of that. So you got this for everybody here. I'm trying to figure out what's the best answer on this as far as which is better, whether it's better to have a higher, I think, a higher percentage or a lower percentage. I think a lower percentage is better because it still gives you a little bit more upside. Whereas you look at Digihost here, Digihost is at 28.74% of their market cap. So their market cap is 92 million and they own 26 million. So basically a quarter of that is based on their hodl position. And the interesting part on that as well is if I do this, let me see, by I think it was hodl market cap. Let me see here. Something interesting that I kind of looked at was if you look at the hodl market cap percentage, so 28% for Digihost, and you look at the percentage of miners in operation already compared to what they are supposed to be getting, what they have right now, you see kind of a trend here. It breaks down a little bit. It's not an exact trend here, but if you look at it, Hut 8 is 18.72% on that, and they have 54% of their miners installed. Then you got Argo is at 18.51%, and they have 15.63 for Bitfarms, and they got 33%. There's a line here that you can see it's increasing, but the only thing that breaks on me is the 46% on Cleanspark, while their hodl is only 816, and I think that's because they own so few of the coins. They own only 848 coins, so they're using their coins to basically fund their operations and things like that. And the same thing goes for DMG. I couldn't find anything on them as far as how much they hodl or Mawson. So, but they also have operationally pretty low numbers. I mean, Mawson's a little bit high in 40%, but DMG is still pretty low. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. But yeah, just kind of interesting to look at that, how that actually plays out. Obviously, the one that kind of breaks things is Riot with basically 32% operational, and they're only at 7% of their market cap here on Bitcoin hodl. So kind of interesting numbers, but obviously the ones that are the most undervalued, in my opinion, would be, so let's take a look at this here, would be right now, I mean, Digihost, I'm not, the thing that concerns me is being operationally pretty much full for them. The DMG is obviously low, so I think they have a good chance of going still north, but they are obviously low on their exahash for the future exahash. So that's kind of concerning a little bit. So I think right now Bitfarms, Argo, and Hive are probably the most undervalued based on this information. And the only reason this one isn't as undervalued as the rest, well, I mean, it's 260%, but I think this is the reason why, It's just they're almost at max capacity right now. Sorry, I've been talking too long. I had to clear my throat again. And then DMG as well because of their low hash rate, future hash rate. So that's the reason for that. Let me know what you guys think of this. Obviously, this is a new way of looking at things. It's kind of interesting to kind of get all the data in one place and be able to play around with it, see how things flow from one to the other. But yeah, I mean, right now, everything's pretty much undervalued except for Marathon. And Marathon, I think, is just because of their future hash rate. It's going to be so high that investors are giving them a lot more price to earnings multiple justification for that than anybody else. And it was actually kind of nice to see that Riot actually also came back down, because Riot was overvalued for a long time, but they're now basically, I would call them right on the money as far as where I have them, where they should be. And then Marathon is just still way overvalued in my opinion, at least right now. But they are getting a higher price to earnings multiple, which is why. So the other kind of cool thing is once we actually get into the miners here, I'll just take Cleanspark here for instance. The nice thing about Apple numbers is that I can actually change the PE slider here. So price to earnings multiple, right now I have it set at 20, but we can see that they are at 1171, right? I have them at 1764. So where is their, I have to do some changing here. I think I have to update that. I updated it on the other ones where I can change it, but I can actually go up higher on these. But I want to go actually lower on these to see where they are. Let me see if I can change that a little bit. Format. Oh, where's my slider? Let's see here. So there we go. So if we change that down to 5 for the minimum, maximum, I don't think we're going to be going up that high. Let's go up to 50 increments of 5. That'll work. Okay. So now, yeah, based on where they are right now in price, I think they're getting like a 12.5 multiple right now. So we can do this on the other ones, and I'll fix this on the other ones as well. But it's just kind of cool to take a look at it to see where they're being actually, because sometimes we don't get the price to earnings multiple from the providers here. I think this is being provided by Yahoo, especially if they have a negative EPS, earnings per share. So that's what it is. But yeah, a lot of great data now. I think this will be more beneficial to not only to you guys, but also to me. I can finally see everything better in one view and see how things are progressing over time. So more things are going to be added to it. I hope you guys enjoy it. But yeah, it is what it is. It's going to be an interesting week. Obviously, with Bitcoin right now having a death cross on its neck, we'll see how that plays out, and then we'll see where we end up. But I'm hoping it's no lower than 40,000, but time will tell. All right, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this, of all of this. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see if there's any news. If there is, we'll post it. We'll talk about Bitcoin, see what's going on with Bitcoin tomorrow as well. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button and the notification bell. Helps me out tremendously. And I'll see you guys in the next one.